Would you like to sample my selection of teas? Hey everyone, I'm Tony from the Handlebar Workshops. Today we're in the garage workshop. Today I'm making these wonderful boxes here. Ostensibly they're tea boxes, where you'd have an assortment of tea inside. But you can also use them for displaying jewelry, watches or whatnot. You can also use it for displaying other things, say like a nice tool. These will look nice sitting on a shelf, but I'm also including some picture hanging hardware with screws that can go on the backs here and mount up on a wall, so either you can have your tea or you could have something else displayed on a wall, kind of like a shadow box. I didn't realize this was tempered glass before I started cutting it. You can't cut tempered glass with regular glass cutting tools. You need like lasers, or you got to heat the glass up to like 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit or something like that. It's impractical to use in a home shop. So I went and bought another piece of glass for the lids. This breaks much easier. So you may have seen these used in my shop before. They're just meant to go over the fence and give me a nice base to build stuff off of. I haven't actually had a chance to build anything yet, but I want to cut some splines on the boxes here. So I'm going to put a piece of plywood here, and I'm going to put more plywood here to hold the box at a 45-degree angle so I can add splines in the corners of these boxes. This doesn't have to be exactly in the center. Just looking for a face to either put at front or in the back. There's a kind of a nick back here that I really can't fix, so that'll go in the back. So the tape marks my back in this case. Alright, so all the sanding is done, everything's put together, it's time to put finish on. I'm using the Minwax Wipe-On Poly. I find it's become my go-to finish. I've got the bottoms on some painter points here, which is basically just plywood with a screw in it. That'll go here so this doesn't touch here when the finish is drying. And for the tops, I'm using a piece of scrap that I found in the shop, and it just sits on the glass because I don't care, that's not going to be finished, so that prevents this part from touching the table as well. The dividers I have on a piece of 1/4 inch plywood, and that holds them up nicely so they don't touch each other. They can dry nice that way. I've got my heater on. The temperature is a balmy 68 degrees in the shop here, even though it's near freezing outside. Some people prefer to use sandpaper as their last step of finishing. I like to use the used rags from the finish. They get stiff and they're just enough to kind of rub out all of the dust particles and the little nibs and whatnot. I just fold it up so that the oil part is on top, and then I just rub. I'm more or less burnishing the finish rather than actually sanding it or anything. But it comes out feeling so nice. Now, dealing with these tiny hinges and these microscopic screws, you gotta give yourself every advantage because it's easy to pop the head right off of the screw. So I just have a little beeswax. You could use paraffin, whatever, regular candle wax. I just kind of rub the threads right on there. Then I set up all 4 screws that I need for the hinges. And then I have them sitting upright so they're easier to grab. I also have a very thin Phillips head screwdriver. So I pre-insert the screw into the hinge. Then I'll bring my screwdriver, engage it with the screw, and then it's a little easier to start getting it into the hole there. I'm not going to tighten it all the way just yet, because I want to get that other screw in. just going to snug these up. I don't want to go too tight because I'll pop that head off. That's good enough. It's not moving. It's tight enough. So I made this little jig so I could accurately place the clasp on all the boxes. I've got the opening line here and the center line here, and I kind of put little screws in, the screws that came with it, and drilled my holes. Now I'll take it over to the drill press and drill the holes all the way through so they're exactly perpendicular to the jig. So now I'm going to use the chuck as my own death stop here. Right now the bit is going through the back. I don't want that happening. I want it to go a little bit farther in than the screw would go. I'm going to lock my chuck. That's as far as my drill bit will go in. I'm going to use this clamp to make sure that the sides are lined up. The hinges are back here. This makes these flush. I'll place it in the vise just to keep it steady. This part of the jig goes on the bottom and this part goes against the side. And there's my 4 holes. So if you enjoyed watching this video, please be sure to give me a thumbs up and then think about subscribing because we got a bunch of content coming out and don't want to miss any of it. Thanks for watching and I'll see you on the next one.